And hopefully when we switch times, the calls that come in later in the show will actually be earlier in the show, and maybe we'll see more of that. We got Bill. How you doing?
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, Matt and Russell.
It's good to hear from you.
Hi.
I have the skepticism about to be an atheist. I'm a golfer, and of course, the atheist is the other meaning.
Yeah, I recognize
I was at the VA in Temple for cataract surgery, and the ophthalmologist saw my cap, and he said, I'm a strong Christian. And I said, where's your evidence of a God? And he says, the eye. He said, there are 12 functions that can only be done by a creator. It could not evolve. And what's your opinion on that, about the eye?
He should look at the actual record of animals that are alive today, which exhibit various different forms of the eye with and without those features. I mean, all that's required for evolution is that there be a small stepwise path that exists from point A to point B, and that each step in that path winds up being slightly beneficial over the previous one. And in the case of eyes, there are a lot of living current animals that have various types of eyes, some that don't have lenses as good as ours, some that are just basically light-sensitive spots.
Yeah, there's a number of good videos actually that have been produced, some by Dawkins and others, that talk about specifically the evolution of the eye. Now, I wouldn't go so far, we don't want to get overly technical because neither Russell or I are experts on evolution or any of these other things, but we have read about this, so we're not clueless. We can't say this is how the human eye definitely formed, but what we can do is demonstrate not only this wide diversity of eyes that exist in nature now, but we can test and demonstrate a process that leads from a single photosensitive cell, and then the advantage of having multiple photosensitive cells, and then the advantage of having a concave set of photosensitive cells, so that now you can tell better direction of light, and that as this eye cup gets more and more pronounced, that there then becomes an advantage of being able to adjust it, and if a lens forms over it, which can happen, well, I better not use cataracts as an example of that anyway, but that all of a sudden now you have the ability to focus and fine-tune what you're looking at. And this gradual progression it moves towards the type of eye we have now. But evolution doesn't have any kind of goal in mind. There's no, this is better. What there is natural selection, which acts on changes to say this mutation is not beneficial. This is not going to be passed along. It's going to be prevented from, or hopefully prevented from being passed along. And these other mutations actually benefit the species, making it more likely for them to reproduce. The problem that we have, the problem that most people have when they look at evolution is it's very difficult to grasp the concepts of the vast times involved in these processes. We're talking about millions of years, and we've only been able within our individual lives to observe directly 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years. Then when you take a look at the amount of time that science has been investigating this, you're talking about a couple of centuries. And and even if you expand that to the bulk of human history of what we can learn and know about, you're talking about thousands of years. And that is still just the teeniest little chunk of the millions of years process that led to this. It's really hard to grasp how tiny changes over that much time can lead to something. And people will say things like, well, we don't see evolution right now. Yeah, we do, all the time. And speciation's observed. With regard to what your optometrist was saying about there being 12 functions that require a creator, I don't buy it for a second. It sounds a lot like irreducible complexity as a claim, and that is fundamentally flawed from a logical point of view. It is an argument from ignorance or personal incredulity that says, I can't see how this sort of level of complexity could have arisen through natural processes. Therefore, I'm going to go ahead and say that a God did it. And that's just not a justified conclusion.
That it?
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate the call.
Thank you for calling.
Take care.
Real quick, it occurred to me that I hadn't really drawn the connection that I wanted to between Gary North's loony Y2K stuff, which really did take in a whole lot of people. I mean, when I was teaching a class in 1999, they made me give essay assignments to people who were basically in a programming class. And I let Y2K be one of the topics. And I think 3 or 4 of them chose Y2K as their paper topic. And without exception, they were all of the school of thought that it was going to be the end of the world as we know it.
Really?
And you know, these were bright adult students who were learning computer programming. I emailed them all after I had left the school and said, you all retroactively fail the class. But I wanted to draw a quick relation between that and his Christian Reconstructionism, which is, it seems that his motives are basically, he's not just fearing the downfall of civilization, he's excited about the downfall of civilization, and if he can help by instilling a little panic in the public, so much the better, because the Reconstructionists believe that someday democracy is going to collapse, and in its place we'll have this Reconstructionist government with the stonings and everything. And that's a good thing. So, there we go. I'd kind of like to get to Al's question.
Yeah.